What is up, fantasy fans, hobgoblins? I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and today I'm going to be talking about an oldie, a classic, the Liveship Traders Trilogy by the Queen of Fantasy, Robin Hobb. True courage is facing life without flinching. I don't mean the times when the right path is hard but glorious at the end. I'm talking about enduring the boredom and the messiness and the inconvenience of doing what is right. Tomorrow owes you the sum of your yesterdays, no more than that, and no less. Half the evil in this world occurs while decent people stand by and do nothing wrong. It's not enough to refrain from evil, Trell. People have to attempt to do right, even if they believe they cannot succeed. So it's been a while since I've read these books, actually. I finished Fitz and the Fool a few years ago now. And I remember I binged Realm of the Elderlings for about a year. I binged Realm of the Elderlings and Malazan around the same time. I loved both of those immensely. They're my two favorite series of all time. And when I first started Liveship, I felt what a lot of people felt when starting Liveship is like, okay, well, I'm really attached to Fitz and the Fool. And I mean, I have a full neck tattoo, so I'll let you guess who my favorite characters in Realm of the Elderlings are. But Fitz and the Fool is my favorite trilogy within Realm of the Elderlings. This is actually my second. And that's crazy considering my favorite characters within her world are easily Fitz and the Fool and Night Eyes. Easily. I'd also say B is up there. But I put all those characters over most of the characters in this book, and that's what Hobb is known for, is her character work, and for good reason. And the character work here is brilliant. But I also think that this tells the most complete, cohesive story out of all the trilogies. Like I said, I like Fitz more than the characters here, but Fitz is also my favorite character in fiction. So I'm comparing the characters in this trilogy I would put over most characters in any other author's entire bibliography. But because these are Hobb characters, it's a little bit less than Fitz. But man, the characters of Brashen Trell, of Althea Vestrit, of Malta Vestrit, of Wintro, I mean, these are just phenomenal characters. And even Kennett, even Captain Kennett. But yeah, so why do I love this series? Why do I think people should read it? And then I'm going to get into spoilers. Much like Farseer, we deal with coming of age. We deal with characters growing beyond what they're used to. Even our grown characters of Brashen and Althea. Althea has grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle. She was led to believe that she should inherit this ship, and things don't go her way. You can kind of say her mom cheated her out of it. I would say her mom cheated her out of it. But, I think she grew in a way having to fight for what she wanted. And I don't think she would have been the same character if her mother had not cheated her out of it and she would have just inherited what was rightfully hers. I think a lot of her growth would not have transpired. Wintro, a character who has grown accustomed to his style within this church, his growth is a lot more heartbreaking than Althea's. He really goes through it. His father is a vile, despicable man. Malta goes through a ton of growth in this series. Every character within the Vestrit family, aside from Kyle, which is Althea's brother-in-law, Malta's father, and anyone who's seen like Daniel Green's reviews and stuff, everyone hates Kyle. It's understood. You're supposed to hate Kyle. Kyle is actually the worst, but I think Kennett is like just as hateable as Kyle, honestly. And then we also follow Captain Kennett, who's trying to become king of the pirates, not in a Monkey D. Luffy way. He's not Monkey D. Luffy, but he is trying to become the pirate king. The Vestrit patriarch has recently died. The ship that was supposed to go to his daughter has just quickened. Now, in this book, we have what are called live ships. They quicken when three members of the family that owns the ship, 3 generations actually, when they die on board this vessel, the memories and blood of those family members leak into the wizard wood of the ship, and the ship comes alive. The figurehead can talk. There's a lot of mysteries about what wizardwood actually is. Like, it's unraveled as the books go on. We also follow this plot with these sea serpents. We follow Kennett as he tries to become king of the pirates. And we eventually follow some of the characters in the Rain Wilds, which is this place that trades with Bingtown, where our characters are from, but the only way to traverse the river that leads to the Rain Wilds is very acidic water, and the only ships that can make the trip are the live ships because of their wizard wood. And basically, Althea was supposed to inherit the ship as it quickens. The ship has just come alive, and she was supposed to be the one to inherit it. She got cheated out of that, and we follow her on a journey to claim what should have been hers, claim what she never expected to have in the first place. And then in her place, because a member of the Vestrit family has to be on board the ship, her nephew Wintro is taken from the monastery that he was staying at and forced on board this ship so his father can trade. And the father has Kyle has a lot of nefarious plans with the live ship to deal with slave trade, illegal trades, a lot of stuff, a lot of thou shall nots, a lot of unsavory activity. And man, this series is amazing. Everything people say about this series is true. This is some of the best third-person characterization I've ever read, over George R. R. Martin's From a Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, man, it's so freaking good. And her prose is beautiful, eloquent. It gets to the heart of the character so quickly. You'll see some familiar faces from the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. And yeah, I just love this series. And I'm going to get into spoilers. So there's a lot of material in these books to cover. I mean, these are massive, massive, massive tomes. But I just want to go over some moments that I thought were very monumental. I thought the romance between Rain and Malta was very heartfelt, very beautiful. I had heard going into this that Malta was a character that you learn to love throughout the series. I loved her growth within their relationship, but I also love how she shined without Rain at times. Like when she had to save the satrap, and you see how much of a whiny brat he is and how much Malta has grown. I loved that. I loved Althea and Brescian's romance. Gosh, Robin Hobb writes romance really well. Thought it was heartbreaking what Kennit did to Althea, and I personally hate Kennit more than Kyle. I know Kyle is the go-to hated character, but I hate Kennit. I do. I think I feel bad for him because he essentially, like most monsters out there, was once a victim, was once somebody who was hurt and is now hurting others as a way to exert control. And it makes me empathize with him, but it doesn't make me hate him any less. I mean, what he does to Althea is brutal. It is despicable. The voice we hear in Kennit's head all the time is just so incredibly vile, and it's not written in a way like Joffrey or like Kyle to where he's so easy to hate, because you know what this character has gone through and you want to empathize with him, and you do, but it's still like you don't get to choose what breaks you. You do get to choose how you put yourself back together, and the way he puts himself back together is by breaking others. And it's despicable, but it's very true to the real world. Wintrow's story is one by the end of this trilogy, especially when you get some of the added context of the later books. I felt sorry for Wintrow as well. I mean, he found someone like Kennit to idolize and to look up to, and he thought he found his second family. And in a lot of other fantasy books, this would have been the happy ending, but instead he's pining after, Kennit's wife, the former prostitute that became queen, Kennit's queen. Wintrow's in love with her, and she doesn't love him back. She'll never love him back. Kennit never loved her, so I just thought it was so sad that he's in love with someone who's in love with someone who passed, who never would have loved her back. It's tragic. Comparatively to Wintrow, I thought Althea and Brescian and Malta and Rain all had really cathartic and rewarding endings. I loved the scene with Rain and Malta dancing at the satrap, and their scales are shining and they're beautiful. And yeah, it's an amazing trilogy. I love that the serpents that we followed got to, become dragons, or it's looking like they're going to become dragons, and we see the fruition of that serpent storyline. Oh man, one of the breakout characters of this book is Paragon, a ship. Seeing that ship come to life, seeing Paragon grow past his pain in a way that Kennit never could was very rewarding. Not to say that he still doesn't have freakouts, because growth is not linear. He can't just become better because he has a crew now. He still has a lot of problems. You can see in the later Hobb books that these problems progress, and he still has issues. He has issues, but he doesn't let those issues define him in the way that Kennit does. And oh yeah, I loved the character of Paragon, much more so than the Vestrit family ship. I forget her name. Vivacia. Yeah, Paragon was my favorite live ship for sure. I did like Vivacia too. There were some tough moments between her and Wintrow. She sort of felt a possession of Wintrow, which is very sad because of the way that Kyle exerts possession over Wintrow. But I do think she loved Wintrow much more so than his own father did. But, Vivacia, she deserved to have Althea, to have someone who loved her unconditionally. And Wintrow would always see Vivacia as a means to keep him in captivity, the reason he can't go back to his monastery and live the life he's always wanted to live. So while there's love between these two characters, these are about to fall. While there is a lot of love between these two characters, there's a lot of turmoil within that love that makes it very hard to define. But yeah, this is an amazing trilogy. It's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. And thanks, guys. Peace.